Welcome to Come and See, your podcast for finding truth in a world of chaos. Brought to you by Living Waters Abide Ministries. With host and founder, Richard Case, and co-host and retreat leader, Trish Harrington. Join us every weekday at this time to discuss news, spend time in the Word, and receive answers to your personal questions about living life in God's truth. And now your host, Richard Case.
Well, good morning, Trish. Here we are going to be airing this third session as we're into now with Come to the Light on August the 5th. That's be a Wednesday. So heading into the end of summer. And we're just taping this after 4th of July. So we both had some great fun things. You got anything else coming up planned over the next in July into August?
We actually do. We have Disney coming up. So I think it's the second and third week, or second to third week, we're heading to Disney. My daughter Brady and I, who loves Disney, and she's bringing a friend of hers. So.
Oh, neat.
Yeah.
What were you, is that down in Orlando?
Orlando, the Disney World in Orlando, yes. So we'll fly into our Sarasota, stay at our house for a couple of days, get some things settled. It's been closed up for a while. And then we take a drive to Disney. And then Dean's joining us for a couple of days. And he's getting in on our girls' trip, which is okay. We'll let him do it for a couple of days.
You let him join, huh?
We'll
so
see.
you have a place. What's your place like in Sarasota?
So it's right outside of Sarasota. We tell people Sarasota because they don't know where Lakewood Ranch is. But it's a beautiful little home. We bought it during 2021, right after COVID. And we've made it into our happy place down there. We get to go in the wintertime, and we just love it. It's so relaxing. It gets us out of a 10-degree weather here. So
yeah. So it's use it as a place to get out of the cold in the winter, primarily.
Yes, and my husband uses it for a retreat house too. Every once in a while, he'll just go down for 2 or 3 days. He grabs his Bible and just does nothing for 2 or 3 days, other than get into the Word. And we've been blessed by it as well. We've had certain events down there that we've enjoyed. So hoping to do a retreat down there this winter too. Yeah,
that'd be great. What? When you go to, have you guys been to Disney? Obviously before. When you go, what did you just go on the different rides and different things?
Yeah, so we've been there quite a few times. We used to go once or twice a year. Since my daughter's been in college, it's been a little less than that, once a year. We used to go for her birthday every year. So we just go on the rides and stuff. It's the rides, we'll indulge in all the food that we like. We love that type of Disney food. The diets go away for a couple of days, but just love the rides and the whole family atmosphere. It's getting a little crazy, but we like it still has some of family atmosphere, and it's just good, clean fun.
Yeah.
How about you? Do you like Disney?
Yeah, we've been to Disney quite a bit, and now Joshua living in Orlando.
Oh, that's right.
With his job, we will probably when we fly down there. Jake Beckel and I, and Mary and Linda, we have a business down in Tampa that we've been setting up and operating. So we'll be going down to Tampa and we'll go to Orlando, and then Joshua will take us to Disneyland, Disney World, and then Universal Studios. I hear is pretty good there. And
it is. Yeah, have you been to Harry Potter World?
I haven't been there, no.
Okay.
No.
Have you read the books?
Yes.
Or is it because? Okay, good. I thought you were going to say because it's wizardry, you wouldn't want to read it.
It's good. It's good to understand stuff, and it's not that you believe certain things, but it's good to understand them.
Yeah.
So we're talking about light and dark, and we talked that God said it's better, more fruitful, more effective to live in the light than it is to live in the dark. He said, matter of fact, he calls living in darkness folly. Folly is the word foolishness, is you're wasting your life wandering around in the desert. Similar to, think of the Israelites when they crossed the Red Sea. See, God said, and they were walking, while they were going through the Red Sea, they're all walking in the light because they're hearing God's voice, and they're, remember when they got released by Pharaoh, they're headed toward, the promised land, and they had to cross the Red Sea. Well, Pharaoh, after he let them go, decided, and see, this is kill, steal, and destroy, is I shouldn't have let them go. I'm going to go after them and kill them all with my army. Okay, well, they know they're getting chased. They're all in a potential place where they could get slaughtered. And God said, no, I'm gonna get you over. And what he did is he created a fire in front of the army so they couldn't get through it. And he said, okay, now I got to get you through the Red Sea. Obviously, you can't swim across because it's too far. So I'm going to just cause a wall of water to come up. And so that now you cross, and the miracle was both the wall of water, but the second miracle was they traveled on dry ground because they had horses and things like that, and they walked through, and because think about it, if you walk through the mud of a riverbed, you're going to get stuck. And they didn't get stuck. So they get across miraculously. And then the Pharaoh's army got released, and they chased them into that place. And when the army got in that place, then the waters came back over them and killed them all. So now they're released. And it's the equivalent theologically of being saved. When you come to know Christ, you are saved. No longer will you be in a place where you won't spend eternity with God, and you have the opportunity now to walk with God. And then the second element of that is, do you have a heart to follow me? And he says, I'm going to take you to the promised land, which is going to be spectacular. And he describes it. It'll be over the top, spectacular. There's an enemy there, and I'm going to have to defeat that enemy, which we will, because they will want to prevent you from taking over this promised land. And the Israelites, 2 million of them, say it's too difficult. So they had when they crossed the Red Sea, there's an interesting statement that's made, is that because of that miracle, they believed. It said they believed, and now they were excited, to be with God. And God said, okay, now my next step is to take you across the Jordan River and go to the land of Canaan and occupy that. I'm going to give it to you. And they said, and they sent spies, and they said, we'll never defeat them. They're too strong for us. We're not willing to go. And Joshua and Caleb, of course, said, I see the same thing, but God said, because God said it, let's go. That's where the light is. In other words, and we're gonna start to see the connection of that, is where's the light, where God speaks, what he says, this go this way. And they said, we're willing to go. And the other one said, we're not willing to go, and we're not going to go. And God said, okay. And this is important. If I invite you to the light, I'm not going to force you to the light. Do you have a heart to go? I'll show you the way, and it'll be beneficial. If you choose not to, which I'll let you not choose to follow me, you'll stay in darkness. Okay, now think about it. They stayed in darkness for 40 years. What did they do for 40 years? Wandered. They just wandered around doing nothing. They never got to the beautiful place. They lived in literally a very, very hard life because there wasn't a lot of food. There wasn't a lot of water. They had to have manna, water from rock. It was truly no trees,
the minimum.
Just survival. No trees, no fellowship, no town, no normal eating.
Hopeless.
It was a life of misery. And they wandered around in the darkness for 40 years, and God led them. And he said, by the way, my emotion toward you, this in Hebrews 3, is anger, is you're not allowing me to give you the best and lead you to the light because you've refused not to go. And so by definition, you're living in the darkness. And what does it say? Well, you're going to wander around aimlessly, getting basically, what we talked a little bit about before is you're going to develop that I guess it's normal to live a life of misery. And God said, well, it's not normal. And anytime you want to go, let's go. So that's why he's inviting us to the light. And then he tells us, now here's the key to the whole thing is it's about Christ. So if you would read John 1:1-9. This is John's first statement as he writes his gospel.
In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things were made through him, and without him nothing was made that was made. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. And the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness did not comprehend it. There was a man sent from God whose name was John. This man came for a witness to bear witness of the light, that all through him might believe. He was not that light, but was sent to bear witness of the light. That was the true light, which gives light to every man coming into the world.
Yeah. So he says, the Word was Christ, and he said what? He describes him as what? He's the light. He's the illuminator. He's the one that brings us, to the light. So that if we're going to walk in the light, he just gave us a clue, is that the key is to walk with the one who is light. So it's not even, just show me. It's that since you are light and you're the light of the world and you've overcome the darkness, and John even admits that I want to set it out straight. I'm writing this, but I am not the light. I'm rather helping us learn to walk with the light because Christ is the light. So if I'm going to go to the light, then who do I have to walk with?
The light.
Yeah, I got to be with the light. I got to be with Christ, who is the light. So remember, it's all about relationship. And then a trust about that is that we were talking about Joshua and Caleb and the 2 million Israelites that wouldn't go. Joshua and Caleb said, I observe the same things you do, but I know, and I have a heart to know, to walk with God and to follow what God has to say by processing, what it is for that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a beautiful thing, to understand it and to, live it out, because Christ is the light. And if he is the light, then who would we like to walk with?
Him.
Let's walk with him, and we'll be with him. Okay, beautiful. So he said he is the light. Okay, now let's go back to John 10:10. We talked about the thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy, but what does Christ say about himself?
The thief does not come except to steal and to kill and to destroy. I have come that they may have life and that they may have it abundantly.
Yeah. So I've come to give you the abundant life, and the life there is a superabundant restoration of walking in the light, because I am the light, and I will help you overcome all the trouble you're going to reach. Because he doesn't say the thief comes to steal and destroy, and I'll prevent him from doing that. He doesn't say that. He just says, while that's true, I can give you the life, and I can give you the power of that life if you have a heart to receive it. Because that's what I've come to do, is to give you the abundance, the beauty, the favor of the abundant life. And I've come to give you that now. And he said, if he's come to give it to me, then what would be my role?
Have a relationship.
Yeah, by being a receiver. Mm-hmm. And I've got to be with the one who's going to give it to me. So that he says, that my heart is to give it to you. The requirement is you got to be with me to be able for me to give it to you. Because if you don't walk with me and you're walking outside of the kingdom in the darkness, I want to give it to you. I have a heart to give it to you. I invite you to receive it. And the only requirement is just come be with me, because I am the light. And that's what, John tells us.
So Rich, how would you explain to someone who feels they have a life that is not hopeless, that is abundant, that they don't feel the devil's after them all the time, but they're walking outside of the light. They're walking in the darkness, but they have a wonderful life.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting when people say that, they're identifying a couple of characteristics that are important to them. And usually it's around financial, and it's around work, and just things that, hey, it's going pretty well. But the abundant life isn't just, financial. It isn't just, work. It's all elements of life that God says, I have a heart to bring you to the more grand. And remember, the more grand includes the covenant, which the covenant is, I'm going to bless you in order for you to become what? A blessing. So that as we describe that, when people say that to me, and I'll say, well, is every area of life actually, all positive for you? And generally the answer will be no, not quite. It might be a marriage relationship, a child relationship, conflict. I might be working too hard. I don't have any margin. But the next question is, are you giving it away? And most of the time the answer is no, because I'm so busy living this out, and I like it. Things are going fine for me. But no, I'm not giving it away. And I said, well, part of the abundant life is going to be to join God in his work of expanding, the kingdom and giving it away, And so I just bring it down to real simple statements. Are you hearing God's voice? A lot of people say, no, I'm not sure what you mean by that. Well, okay, well, that means you're not. Are you discerning his will? And do you know the path that you're being called to walk into? No. Well, then, even though things are going great, that you determine, and that, by the way, that's not a bad thing. It's that God would say there's so much more if you have a heart to go and let me speak to you, because probably what's happened is that you've shunted off some things that you're not willing to face or not willing to deal with, or just accepted it as part of that life. The majority of my life seems to be, pretty good. And I'll just give you a simple example. I was doing a ministry with Henry Blackaby, and we were involved with called this CEO Forum, and it grew out of Focus on the Family, which I helped grow. And it was CEOs of minimum of $100 million in revenue per year. So these are very, very successful people. And if I said to them, as I did, are you enjoying, the abundant life? Yeah, we're good. Things are good. And then I get to know them a little bit. And one thing I noticed is, how are you doing at taking vacations? And guess what? They were all lousy at it. And even when they did, they would be, yeah, I'll go to a place with my wife or my kids, but I'm during the day, I'm occupied with work. I don't really take a vacation from work, and my energy isn't there, and I'm thinking about work and all that. And I said, well, and it kind of shocked me a little bit, because it wasn't about how much money did you make. It's rather, are you enjoying the life that God has for you? And interesting enough, because they didn't know how to take a vacation, they didn't know how to take a break, they didn't actually have fun. They didn't really have joy, even though they would characterize, materially, that everything was going great. And so it's, regardless of the situation, the abundant life is walking with God in the light for the more that he has for you, which could be helping to give it away, help you have margin, help you relax, help you have joy, help you be a great husband and wife, a great father and mother. It's more and more than just circumstantial, of well-being. And then actually, interesting enough, David, he actually raised that question up in the Psalms. He says, hey, I notice there's a lot of people that make a lot of money and they're doing really, really well, and they're not following you. So what am I supposed to think about that? And God says, well, if you knew the truth, it's not all that it seems to be.
No. And at some point you're going to have an issue that you could have all the money in the world, and it's not going to cure. Yeah. And that's when you're going to go out and reach out to God that, all right, how do I get through this? Because my millions are not going to be able to help me here.
Yeah. Yeah. And having more money isn't necessarily more abundant life. Actually, it can be burdensome because you have so much. You're spending all your time maintaining the so much. And maybe God would have you, simplify and say, you don't need 2 houses, and, you don't need this because it's burdening you. You're spending so much time trying to keep it up, that you're not enjoying it. So that it's not just circumstances. Generally speaking, even people that are wealthy, as you begin to learn and share their life, they have struggle. There's certain things in life that just aren't working for them. And it's like, well, let me help you, learn how to walk with God. And there's so much more that God would like to do to give you that, super abundant life.
Yeah.
And so,
if I could tell a quick story.
Yep.
So back in 2017, I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and anyone looking into my life at that point would have been, she has a great life. She has a great career as a CPA. She's got a great family business. All her kids are healthy. She has enough money, etc. Had I been not on the path of Christianity, and had I been diagnosed with breast cancer prior to becoming saved, it would have been a diagnosis of hopelessness, of despair, of just not being able to cope because I had no one to go to, just the worldly community. But I realized this when someone else was diagnosed a year after me, and she asked to speak to me, and her diagnosis, same diagnosis as I, but she was not walking in the light. It was a diagnosis of hopelessness. She thought for sure she was going to die, and that I don't know what to do. And I remember one time she said to me, every night I go to bed, I don't know what to do, so I just pray to Mary. And I immediately said, well, what are you praying to her for? You need to pray to the big guy. And she had no idea what I was talking about. So it's definitely, it sounds like it's an abundant life at times because we have everything, but that can go away in, we all know, an instant.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're not exempt certainly from the trouble that's going to come, even if we're doing well. And that's what God told David is, you need to understand something, that don't look at their current life and say, they're blessed, so shouldn't I do the same? No, you stay with me, and my path for you will be so much more. And by the way, they're not going to be exempt from what's coming down the road.
Yeah. I think many, many, many people do that. I'm going to do what they do because that has gotten them ahead.
Right. Yeah. And that's where the definition of abundance, is so limited, particularly in America. Our definition of abundance happens to be primarily around financial. And so when we think of the abundant life, interesting enough, we can look at it on both sides of it. Is I'm experiencing that, so everything must be good, or I'm not experiencing it, and I'm unlucky, because if I truly am supposed to have the abundant life, then I should have more financial wherewithal, and I'm not. And God said, well, don't make it about financial. It'll include financial because I want to give you freedom of that. But there's so much more in walking the abundant life of the joy and the wonder of God at work, and us having fellowship with people, with God at work. And we're joining together because God defines the abundance as all of life, not just a limited piece of it. So yeah, that's really important. Well, let's thank you, Trish, for putting that up. So Heavenly Father, we just thank you that you are the light, and that because of that, our relationship is to walk with you in that light. And you've overcome the darkness, which means that we can also overcome darkness because we get to walk with you. And so we just pray that it is about relationship. There is a fullness about that. There's not limited. And we know for sure that if we walk in the light, all of life will be spectacular while we still have trouble and need to work through things of the darkness. And we praise you and thank you in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. Well, thank you, Rich, for sharing with us. And thank you, listeners. If you have questions, please send them into Abide Ministries, questions@abideministries.com. And thank you again for sharing with us today.
Yep. We'll see you then.
Thank you for joining us for today's episode of Come and See, your podcast for truth in a world of chaos. Brought to you by Living Waters Abide Ministries. Send us your questions and comments and tune in tomorrow for more answers to your personal questions about living life in God's truth. Remember, God's will is best and none better. His truth brings peace in this world of chaos.